Hello everyone, I Dr. Pooja Bhamre welcome you all in the Maths channel of Vedikaa Academy. Today we will see one of the basic concept of maths, which is direct proportion and inverse proportion. Okay, I think this concept is very much important because in most of the competitive exams, if this concept is clear to you, you can solve many numericals, and also it helps you in solving the numericals in the physics also, if this concept is known to you. So let us start. What do you mean by direct proportion and inverse proportion? I will give some examples. Now let us say we have to travel more distance. So more distance we have to travel, and the another parameter is the time. So let us say we have to travel more distance, so more time will be required. If the speed is same, we assume that if same speed, with the same speed the car is moving, and if car has to travel the more distance, more time is required. So let's say suppose double distance has to be traveled, so double time is required. Again it is given that with the same speed. Okay, so here two quantities, distance and time. Okay, so if distance is getting doubled, time is also getting doubled. If you say that distance is 4 times, then time is also 4 times. So this is in proportion. So in this case we can say that distance is directly proportional to time, because as distance is getting in some factor, the time is also increase or decrease with the same factor. So we can say that these two parameters are in direct proportion. So the symbol of direct proportions is given here. Let's say two parameters are there, x and y. So x is directly proportional to y. So in the table you can see that it is denoted with x directly proportional to y. So in the direct proportion, the division is constant. In this x is directly proportional to y. So we can say that x1 upon y1 is equal to x2 upon y2 is equal to x3 upon y3, which is equal to constant. Some constant is there. That constant is known as constant of proportionality. Okay. Now coming to the inverse proportion. Now what do you mean by inverse proportion? Let us say some work has to be done and number of laborers are there to complete that particular work. So if more number of laborers can complete that work, then time required will be less. Obviously in the lesser time that particular work is completed, right? So the number of proportion in which the laborers are increased, in the same proportion the time has reduced. So in this case of inverse proportion, if one of the quantity increases, the other quantity decrease in the same proportion. So if one quantity is getting double, the other quantity is getting half. Okay, if one quantity is getting 3 times, the other quantity will be 1/3. Right? So in this way, in the inverse proportion, if one quantity increases, other quantity reduced in the same proportion. Okay, so in the inverse proportion, the symbol is denoted as like this, x, then symbol and 1 upon y. So in this way, this is the difference between direct proportion and inverse proportion. One more thing, in case of inverse proportion, product is constant. What do you mean by product is constant? So x1 into y1 is equal to x2 into y2 is equal to x3 into y3, which is equal to constant, and that constant is known as constant of proportionality. So in this way we have summarized the concepts of direct and inverse proportion. Now let us solve some examples on these two. Take down first example. A printer can turn out 3600 copies in 1 hour. So here two quantities are there. One is number of copies and second one is the time. How many copies can it turn out in 25 minutes? And the second question is, how much time will it take to turn out 1080 copies? Now here what is the first thing is, firstly you have to make one table. Now what are the different parameters in the table? First parameter is number of copies and second parameter is the time. So let's say number of copies we denote as parameter x and time we denote as parameter y. So whatever is given to you, that 3600 copies in 1 hour. So in the first column, in the second column, you have to write down that particular specifications. Now in the question, it is given that how many copies can it turn out in 25 minutes. So as number of copies are asked in minutes, in how many minutes. So very first thing is we have to convert this 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes, because in minutes it is asked. So 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. So in short, 3600 copies are turned out in 60 minutes. So how many copies will be turned out in 25 minutes? So here x2 is the that x2 parameter we have to find out. So we can easily recognize that this is a case of direct proportion. Number of copies has increased, number of time is also, time required to print that particular number of copies will also increase in the same proportion. So this is a case of direct proportion. So what is the formula? x1 upon y1 is equal to x2 upon y2. So same thing is given here, 3600 upon 60 is equal to x2 upon 25. So one equation we will get, and if you solve that particular equation, then you will get the value of x2, which is equal to 1500. So in 25 minutes 1500 copies will be printed. Let us move to the second example. How much time will it take to turn out 1080 copies? Now here x3 is given and y3 is required to calculate. So again it is a case of direct proportion. We can write down 3600 upon 60 is equal to 1080 upon y3. Okay, so again we will get one equation. We will solve for that equation. So y3 value will be equal to 18 minutes. Okay, so in this way we have solved this particular example of direct proportion. Let us move ahead to the second example. A ship has enough provision for 300 people for 30 days. Okay, if 200 more people join them, how long will the provision last? Now the food quantity is fixed here. Number of people has getting larger. So if more number of people are there and food quantity is the same, the time, the provision will last for less number of time. Okay, less number of days. So here very first thing is we have to make the table, and from the concept it is very much clear that this is a case of inverse proportion, because if number of men has increased, the provision will last for less number of days. So here I have selected the x parameter as number of people and y as number of days. So accordingly I will fill the table. 300 people, the provision will last for 30 days. So second column will be that. The third column will be 200 more people join them. So overall now 500 people are there. So x2 is equal to 500 and y2 we have to calculate. So as it is a case of inverse proportion, what we have seen? We have seen that the product is constant. That is x1 into y1 is equal to x2 into y2. So I have just substituted the value 300 into 30 is equal to 500 into y2. Okay. So in that way one equation you will get. You have to solve that equation for y2. So y2 is coming out to be 18 days. So as number of people has increased to 500, the provision will last only for 18 days. Okay, so I hope you understand this video. In a summary, we have seen the concept of direct and inverse proportion here. So here are some numericals I have given you for the homework. I hope you solve this at home and you just comment your answer in the chat box. I hope you understand this video. Thank you.